Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Aim Saraswate Namaha. Om Shri Guruve Namaha. Our humble Sashtang pranams at the holy lotus feet of Pujya Gurudev, Pujya Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj of Yoga Research Foundation, Miami, Florida. Katha Upanishad, translated into English by Pujya Gurudev, The Mystery of the Soul. Mantra number 13, Day 56. Blessed Self, adorations, divine love, light, healing, bliss, prosperity to each one of you. A little bit of recap on mantra number 12. Faith is an expression of a purified intellect which begins to reflect the deeper truths of spiritual life and does not depend upon the functions of reason for its support. However, it does not contradict reason. Rather, it brings reason to its spiritual fulfillment. How beautiful. And the self cannot be attained by the mind or by the senses. It's very important to know that. It is realized by those who have faith in its existence. So, another most important feature of spiritual movement is Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. If a person is endowed with intense faith in the innermost self, in the scriptures, in the divine reality, and in the goal of life as liberation, he is bound to succeed in the practice of meditation and samadhi, as well as in the practice of spiritual inquiry into who am I. May we all be successful in that. With the blessings of our Lord. Mantra number 13. Lord Yama, Feather, imparts knowledge to Nachiketas, and he says, the self is to be realized by both methods. That means by ascertaining the existence of the self through yogic meditation and by inquiry into the nature of the self, which is Atma Vichar. Having developed the conviction that the self is, a yogi automatically realizes the nature of the truth. And the nature of the truth is the nature of the self, which is Atma. By the practice of concentration, meditation, and samadhi, a person develops increasing faith in the existence of the self. Faith intensifies the practice of meditation as well as spiritual inquiry. According to Raj Yoga Sutras, others attain Nirodha Samadhi, which is the highest form of samadhi. By developing Shraddha, that means by developing faith, so by developing all these, they are able to attain Nirodha Samadhi. And these are by developing Shraddha. Shraddha is faith. Virya is energy. Smriti, memory. Samadhi, that means Lava Samadhi. And Pragya, intuitional vision arising in Samadhi. In Raj Yoga, which is Samadhi Pad number 20. So this is what is in the Raj Yoga. So Shraddha, which is faith, enables a person to discover abundant resources of energy from within the self for controlling the body, mind, and senses. This spiritual energy is virya. So when you are able to control your body, mind, and senses through faith, and that takes energy, and that energy is the virya energy. As an aspirant utilizes increasing spiritual energy, he begins to develop a mystic memory, the art of remembering. I am not this body, I am the self. So he is able to retain the spiritual vision that arises in states of samadhi. This enables him to ascend the higher steps of meditation and samadhi. The intellect bathes in the waters of samadhi and emerges as prajna, intuitive intellect. The more you practice, the better it becomes. So it is with the intuitive intellect that a yogi discovers the nature of the self. And allows all worldly impressions of his mind to be destroyed by the fire of knowledge. This is the state of Nirodha Samadhi. That means worldly impressions of the mind is destroyed by the fire of knowledge. This is Nirodha Samadhi, described as Nirvikalpa Samadhi by Vedantins. So if you say Nirodha Samadhi or Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it means the same thing. That means the mind is destroyed, the monkey mind is destroyed by the fire of knowledge. This is the state of liberation which is characterized by the cessation of all desires. So it's very hard to uproot the desires. But the more you move towards negating or uprooting the desires, the more closer you get towards liberation. Because desires, with the help of the mind, is the culprit. It takes you into wrong direction. But there are Shubha desires, just like Shubha samskaras. So when you are having desire of self-realization, it is a Shubha desire. And that will not take you to negative direction. But the worldly desires, yes, it takes you to downward spiral. But again, the question is, desire of what and how much. Mantra number 14. When all the desires of the heart are eradicated from their very root, that's why I use the word uproot. So uproot those desires. When you just trim it, that means you have just put a comma, not a full stop. So uprooting means you have put a full stop and it will not bother you again. But when you put a comma or just trimming it, that means you are inviting it in for it to come back in the future. So when all the desires of the heart are eradicated from their very root, then this mortal human being becomes immortal. He attains Brahman even here within this body. So definitely it's possible. It is possible within this very life, within this very body. Mantra number 15. When all the knots of the heart are resolved, then this mortal human being attains immortality. This is the eternal teaching. So remember that. In the knots of the heart are avidya, which is ignorance, karma, kama, which is desire, and karma, which is action. These are the three knots of the heart. So avidya, kama, and karma. Avidya is ignorance, kama is desire, and karma is action. So these are the three knots of the heart. Ignorance gives rise to desires, which is kama, and you know all sorts of desires for pleasures. And these pleasures are the ones that give you pain later. So desires exist both as vasanas. Vasanas are the subtle desires in the subconscious. It's there, not known, not felt. And why it is subtle? Because it is not known, but it exists there. And it creeps in whenever it wants to. So the subtle desires in the subconscious are the vasanas, and as well as conscious desires in daily life. These are the vasanas. Led by the illusion of desires, the soul remains bound to the fetters of karma. So because of desires, one after the other, just like we had talked about during Navratri, Ma Kali, when she slain these demons, Raktabij, and she took every drop of the blood on her tongue, because as soon as one drop fell on the ground, another very exactly same demon popped up. So this is how that represents desires. You fulfill one desire, similar another desire pops up, followed by another one, followed by another one. So how long can you continue to fulfill these desires? Never ending. These are giving you pleasure only momentarily. But once you attain liberation, or when you are in samadhi, or when you are in meditation, they are momentarily, but lasts longer. And it's not a demon like the Rakta Bija. Led by the illusion of desire, the soul remains bound to the fetters of karma. So you keep creating karma because of those desires that keep coming up from your subconscious as well as conscious mind. It follows the process of birth and death cycle through numerous embodiments. So if it's not fulfilled this in this birth, then you take another birth, then you take another birth. So that is why you have to cut it off somewhere in the process. And may it be this very life. Cut off these desires and say, this is enough. I had enough of births, and the time now is to cut it off, live selflessly, give unconditional love, and serve the Lord as an instrument, and never be born again. In order to overcome pain and attain supreme bliss, one must become free from embodiment. In order to be free from embodiment, one must destroy the fetters of karma. The karmic fetters are loosened by destroying the impressions of raga and dvesha. Raga is attachment and dvesha is hatred. So attachment and hatred, you have to destroy the impressions of attachment and hatred. These are caused by egoism arising out of identification with the chitta, the mind stuff. Egoism is born out of the lack of discrimination between the self and the not self. Avidya, which is ignorance, is the cause of lack of discrimination. You are unable to identify the good versus the bad. Therefore, by removing ignorance, the cause of pain is eventually removed and the supreme bliss of the self is experienced. Mantra number 16. There are 101 nadis. This is very, very deep. There are 101 nadis, pranic currents in the heart, of which one is Sushumna, goes to the crown of the head. So passing through that, the soul attains immortality in the higher worlds. But by passing through the other nadis, the soul continues to incarnate in various forms. So Ida, Pingla and Sushumna. Sushumna is the one that is straight, whereas Ida and Pingla twines around Sushumna and crisscross way, and it meets at one chakra. The base is the Muladhara at the base of the spine, and then a little bit, so that's where all the three meet, and then again it crosses and then goes over to the next one above it, which is called Swadhisthana, and that represents water. The Muladhara represents earth, and then Swadhisthana represents water, and that is at the reproductive organ area. And then just next, near to the navel, almost touching navel, that is the third chakra, which is Manipura. Manipura is the fire. It's responsible for digestive fire energy also. So then that's the third place where it twines. Then the next one is at the heart level, Anahata. It twines there, and then it says here that only the one out of all the nadis, Sushumna goes to the crown, straight to the head, and when passing through that, the soul attains immortality in the higher worlds. So when it passes through the Sushumna, goes straight up to the crown and up and out from the body, then that is liberation. It merges into Brahman. Depending on the karmas, it's kram mukti or direct. The soul continues to incarnate if that does not happen. So if one does not attain liberation during this life due to presence of karmic obstacles and lack of qualification for profound inquiry into the nature of the self, his spiritual efforts are never rendered void. So whatever you have attained in this very life, it will never go to waste. So it's never rendered void by the force of purity acquired by his good deeds, devotional meditation, and understanding of the self. He follows the path of light. He ascends various planes of existence after his death and is led to Brahmaloka, the plane of cosmic mind. Thence he merges into absolute. This is krama mukti, which I was saying that if you do not merge right away, then you go through the krama mukti. That means gradual liberation, as explained before. So either you go directly, and then otherwise you go to Brahmaloka and slowly completely merge. So those yogis who ascend to Brahmaloka after their death pass through the mystic channel called Sushumna. But those who are not endowed with the qualifications for following the path of gradual liberation pass through numerous nadis other than the mystic channel Sushumna. So it's not easy, it's not direct flight. So you can think of that. Many stopovers or direct flight. So Hatha Yoga describes the naris arising from the kanda. Kanda is the space between the anus and the generative organs. And from there, because of the control of prana, the vital energy, is emphasis in Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga is more of like practicing to be able to awaken the kundalini from that kanda, the space in between the generative organs and the anus, just that little space. That's where the kanda is. That's where it starts. That energy is like, you must have heard that 3.5 coiled snake sits there. But when you practice yoga or hatha yoga, that energy rises above, upwards. So the base is Prakriti and the crown represents Shiva. So Shakti is Prakriti and Shiva is at the crown, the Sattva. So practicing Hatha Yoga helps to rise the Kundalini upwards, and Shakti moves upwards to move Shiva. And it merges there, represents many different parts though. So Hatha Yoga describes the nadis arising from the kanda, and because the control of prana or vital energy is the emphasis in the Hatha Yoga. But in Jnana Yoga, the emphasis lies in the heart, which is the center of the reflective and meditative movements of the mind. Therefore, according to Jnana Yoga, all mystic channels radiate from the heart. However, only advanced yogis are able to adapt Sushumna for attaining gradual liberation. 101 nadis figuratively refer to the innumerable nadis arising from the heart, leading the soul to countless embodiments. The teachings of the Katha Upanishad are summed up in the following mantra. So here we are reaching the last two mantras, which are mantra 17 and 18. And I think they are not too big. Let me finalize it today. So mantra number 17. The Supreme Self assumes, this is, I've said it before, but I want to say it again because it is here in mantra number 17. The Supreme Self assumes the size of a thumb, so the size of your thumb, and abides in the heart. So your self is the size of your thumb and it abides in the heart of every human being. It's called the cave of the heart. There is a space there. Just as a reed can be husked and its cores, coverings removed, reed just like, say you take the husk, or you take the paddy, the rice that still has its covering on top, you can husk it, you can remove the covering, you can husk the paddy or the rice, and its coarse covering removed, so the coarse covering can be removed also. So an aspirant should detach the self from his body with patient effort. So more and more patiently practice meditation, slowly, just like the onion peeling. You remove one at a time, and there comes a time when there is none left. So all the peelings, all the coverings are gone. And same way when you husk the coconut, you take out the peelings one at a time, and then you break it, and then you reach the inner part, which is so pure white. So an aspirant should detach the self from his body with patient effort and then realize it as the embodiment of bliss. Mantra number 18. Thus, having heard these instructions containing spiritual knowledge and the method of yoga, Nachiketas became free from death, free from all impurities of the mind, and attained oneness with Brahman. May we all be free from the impurities of the mind. May we all become free from death and birth cycle, free from impurities of the mind, and attain oneness with Brahman. So then Lord Yama further says, whoever thus understands these teachings becomes free from birth and death and attains Brahman. So may we read Katha Upanishad or listen to this satsanga over and over and reach that final stage. In these concluding mantra, Lord Yama gives a basis for devout meditation by describing the self to be the size of a thumb, abiding in the heart as the mind is purified by devotion. It adopts the path of spiritual inquiry, which involves separating the self from the three bodies and five sheaths, much as the munja reed is separated from its coverings. Whoever brings about the removal of ignorance consequently stops all desires and realizes, I am the non-dual self. I am the Supreme Brahman. The world and the individual soul are projections of illusion. He attains supreme bliss. He is not born again. This is the fruit of the spiritual wisdom contained in this Upanishad. Thus ends Katha Upanishad. And let us chant this mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinam Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Aham asmi, aham asmi, aham asmi. I am. The cloud of thoughts and feelings drift and dissolve in the vast sky of I am. The rivers of names and forms flow into the surging ocean of I am. Childhood, youth, and age glide by with alternating birth and death. The cycles of day and night rotate before the face of the sun. I am. The future turns into present, and the present slips into the chasms of the deep trenches of the past, buffeted by the mighty wind of I am. The glorious days of fragrant spring and the frosty snows of winter, the frosty snows of the winter, the waters of mirage shine in the vastness of I am. The desires that whisper a ray of hope, the joy that surges in a million souls, the life that flows in all living beings, the sustainer of all, I am. The clamor of clashing weapons, the music of peace and harmony, the rude noises and soft whispers, all have merged in the eternal melody of Aham Asmi, Aham Asmi, Aham Asmi. I am. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu, Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu, Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Divine love, light, peace, prosperity. May you all be successful. May all be auspicious. And blessings to each one of you and your near and dear ones. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. This is Swami Lalita Priyananda from Sacramento, California. Thank you, Gurudev. Thank you for this scripture. Thank you for translating Katha Upanishad into the mystery of the soul. Humble Sashtang pronounce. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat.